two more.
讲一个好啦，讲一个好啦。This.
Luis actually came all the way from Los Angeles, so we'd like to ask him to say a few words, even in Taiwanese or in English.
我对洛杉矶的这个法律建国会会开始会创会的规划，然后去2月初9去华盛顿 DC 去参与这个辩论庭。咱台湾今仔日只4月18日58人前生效这个竞选会哦，为什么咱台湾人？拢就来讲起这个代志，咱台湾到底是好去好种，这就是要叫请台湾人对这事实的了解，然后做出支持甲行动。我希望就是讲，咱这个对这一个经济种落去，慢慢伊会发芽。慢慢伊会成长，这是真无容易的代志，因为经过遮侪年啊，确实是毋是安尼简单的代志。因为经过这个国民党长期的奴化教育，把咱台湾人的这个台湾主体意识全部拢来抹消掉。这个就是讲，我即摆就是讲在提倡，伫这个慢慢。阮即摆在推动一个叫做台湾人建国意愿书，这就是讲，甲台湾人讲，咱台湾人真够胆，伫国际上拢无出来讲，到底恁台湾人是要爱啥？这个就是讲，过去这个拍这个国会咧走状的时阵，所面临的非常困难解答的一个。到底恁台湾人是要爱啥？恁家己都毋知影要爱啥的时阵，阮美国是要安怎甲你帮忙？国际上是要安怎甲你帮忙？这就是讲，咱的重点就是讲，台湾咱这经济种伫台湾伫美国慢慢伊是非常困难，可是一定爱做，因为这是有关咱台湾前途对这个行顺会当建立一个咱家己自由民主的国家的这个上界要紧的迄个工作有困难目标，咱就是来，敢若讲这个传教士的精神，一下步一下的，咱爱继续来行。若有认同咱这个理念的人，请伊都爱来踊跃来参加咱这个咱这个行动。我们一日有一日，台湾会当较正式成一个自由民主、独立、公平的世界。
真是好啦，讲几句，爱较是好啦。讲个大家个招呼，向乡亲讲几句，拜托。
今日真欢喜，大家用这时阵，大家来遮做伙来讨论这个关心咱台湾以后咱台湾前途的问题。咱台湾是来讲，即摆愈来愈真侪咱的台湾人关心咱台湾的将来。我今仔日听到讲，咱要等这个华盛顿 DC 有这个台湾人民政府，伫遐已经成立了。所以我感觉讲，这是一个希望，嘛是一个这种将来性安尼。所以我真欢喜，今日得到这个好消息安尼。多谢。
Okay, I think I will also take this opportunity to introduce, to explain to all the overseas Taiwanese why we are doing this press conference here today. 58 years ago, this San Francisco Peace Treaty became ratified, effective. So 1 year before that, that is 59 years ago. And San Francisco actually is the center of the world. All the focus of the world after to handle the to solve the problem of the World War II, to get a conclusion. And so they all gather here to have a peace conference. And since that is so important, so the world, actually San Francisco is really the focus for the world peace. Unfortunately, to everyone, the World War is finished. It's ended 59 years ago. But unfortunately, to the people of Taiwan, the war is not finished because they still live in the political purgatory. And lots of saying, the Chinese people keep saying Taiwan is part of China, which is not true, because there's no any document can prove that Japan had transferred the title, the sovereignty, from Japan to China. There's no such record at all. And you know, in the San Francisco Peace Treaty, just 3 days before the conference, and John Faustulus, he actually made a speech in the conference, announced to the world how they come to the conclusion to sign the peace treaty. They say we cannot, you know, continue to sit here and without any solution, because most of the World War, after the World War, they had the peace treaty signed within a couple years. 1 year, just like Spain and United States War, they signed, which happened in 1898, and then they signed the peace treaty in the same year. So look at the World War II. The war, they ceased fire in 1945. The peace treaty signed in 1951. Why it took so long? It's because China, they had a civil war. But can the whole world, you know, to prolong the peace settlement just because the conflict or the civil war of China? No, they cannot do that. So that's the decision being made and agreed by the world, all the allies at the time. And the agreement that's put in writing in the San Francisco Peace Treaty. And Japan just renounced the rights, title, and claim to Formosa and Pescadores. And they don't give up the sovereignty, they don't hand it over to China. Unfortunately, that the Chiang Kai-shek, he said, okay, we, you know, retrocess Taiwan back to China's territory, which is not true, because the military occupation doesn't transfer the sovereignty at all. And while the Allies signed the peace treaty in San Francisco in 1951, Chiang Kai-shek actually was kicked out by Mao Zedong. Then there's no Republic of China at all. But why ROC is still ruling on Taiwan? It's because, you know, there's an expectation that the Chiang Kai-shek can cooperate with the United States. But unfortunately, you know, the Korean War happened, and then of course Mao Zedong, he did not keep the promise, you know, to cooperate with the United States. So everyone break out their promise, and then, you know, China, that's the you know, the agreement what they talk about, discussed during the war in 1943 or at that time they talked of so-called the Carroll Declaration or the Boston Proclamation, which is not true, because that's just in the long process of discussion, and it's not the conclusion. The conclusion is the San Francisco Peace Treaty, which is signed in 1951 and ratified by the senator and ratified by Congress in 1952. That's why we are commemorating here 58 years later. So at this point, I would like to call everyone's attention that justice delayed is injustice. Okay, so the people of Taiwan looking for justice in time. We don't want any longer delay. We need it now. The people of Taiwan need to build their own nation. So we take this opportunity to have any questions so we can get further discussed. Fanny. 아무 CK你家己来讲就好。
即摆都要25分啦，好，我讲几分钟。